Okay, so content analysis is where you really are converting qualitative data into quantitative data. So it's where researchers will quantify and analyze the meanings of words, concepts, and make inferences about them. But it is really just converting qualitative data into quantitative data. So that's the purpose of content analysis. So what you have to do is you have to code or break down information into categories and then examine those categories. So that's how it takes place. So there is a famous study by Wainforth and Dunbar in relationships who did some content analysis on Lonely Hearts ads. So this is like old school Tinder. So people putting adverts out to look for a date, and what Wainforth and Dunbar were looking at were gender differences in adverts. So they suggested that in an advert, you either seek attractiveness or you seek resources. So you look for someone that has good looks or money, and then you can either sell yourself as being attractive or having resources. And they looked at the gender difference between dating adverts. So they read through the information, they categorized the data, they looked for those categories and they quantified them. And what they found was there was a gender difference. Males advertised resources and looked for attractiveness, and women did the opposite. So this was done through content analysis. Thematic analysis is a type of content analysis which looks for themes in data, interprets the themes after coding them. Thematic analysis can be done in two ways. It can be done as top-down. So that's where you start with an assumption of what you are looking for, and then you look for evidence to prove or disprove that assumption. And bottom-up thematic analysis is a bit more unstructured. It's where you look for information and then build an assumption from there. So top-down is kind of like structured, and bottom-up is more unstructured. The good thing about content analysis is it avoids ethical issues from that you might have in other forms of data collection, and it's high in external validity. However, it involves subjective interpretation, the formation of categories, the coding, and it does have a lack of objectivity. There's a question here on content analysis that it might be worth looking at. Common questions might be for you to define content analysis, to say what it is, and then the mark at the question at the bottom, to explain how the psychologist might have carried out content analysis. So that's looking at analysing drawings. So what you want to do is to say that you will take the drawings, that you will look for specific categories. So the researcher is looking at the effects of diet on psychological functioning. So you would want to have some categories that you might be looking for in the pictures. You'd want to identify the categories, give an example of a category. So drawing food, for example, would be a category. Then they'd tally up the categories and then they would convert that into a quantitative score.